part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster. So happy to be here with all of you. Hopefully you enjoyed my very sentimental trailer I put up. Podcast 616, this is the podcast where I gather writers, actors, improvisers, and just genuinely funny and thoughtful people to get together and recap MCU movies and TV shows to prepare you for the next Marvel movie that is coming to theaters. We are, of course, preparing for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which will feature a little witch that we have come to know and love named Wanda. So for this episode, we are talking about the Disney Plus series WandaVision, aka this one is for the gays. In this journey of WandaVision, I've gathered two amazing guests, one Marvel expert, one Marvel newbie. And in our expert seat today, they are an outstanding actor slash model slash fashionista slash comic book collector slash changer of their hair color. Please welcome to your ears and to your ears. Please welcome to your ears, Isaac Snyder. Isaac, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me for this. I'm so excited to talk all things Marvel and, my favorite, WandaVision. So
I think this was like this episode. I was like, it has to be these two. I have to have these two on. Isaac, you are probably the most knowledgeable person of comic book things that I know. So I'm honored for you to be here. Please. Please and thank you.
Thank you. Seriously. I mean, I love comic books. I grew up with comic books. My dad taught me how to read using comic books. I'm just happy that I finally get to do something with it instead of just staring at them all day. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Now we can talk about it and then stare at them later.
Right.
But Podcast 616 is not only for experts. We also have room for newbies, people who are brand new to this genre, this industry. They might know nothing. They're just wayward souls. I'm going to make this nice. So I have a star of stage, film, and their Instagram page. What can I say? A friend, a best friend, I publicly will admit. So please welcome my dear friend, Evan Mills.
Hello.
Evan, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm doing so well. Good. I'm so happy to be here as a newbie, and truly, I don't find any offense to that because I truly am a newbie when it comes to the MCU. I don't even know if I've ever said MCU out loud before.
This might be the first time he's openly stated that the universe is in fact the MCU.
I'm honored to be there for this first time saying that. Evan, was WandaVision your first Marvel thing you've ever watched?
No, actually, before WandaVision, I think it was in preparation of WandaVision. Isaac, I won't say made me, but Isaac encouraged that we watched every single Marvel film in chronological order. So that means we started with Captain America and then went to Captain Marvel, is that what it's called?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Good job. I'm so proud of you.
And so it's funny to watch that movie and then one of the most current movies, but it made sense in the timeline. So, so now I have seen, I think every single Marvel piece of film and television other than Imagine If or What If or whatever it's called.
Imagine If.
Imagine this.
That's how I represent. Imagine. Very nice. Yes. To be honest, on this podcast, Isaac and Evan are a couple. They are living together, sharing a microphone. And I thought it would be super cute to have a couple on for WandaVision. I was talking to Isaac before we recorded, but I'll include Evan now. Of you two, I have my thoughts, but if you two were cast as Wanda and Vision, who would play who?
I think I would be Wanda.
I was going to say, I think you would be Wanda.
Yeah.
Because, I can see myself being a more stoic, Vision-esque character.
Yeah. And I'm like, don't touch my children.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I could see Evan being the more nurturing character that, just had too much grief.
Yeah.
And that's honestly exactly what I thought as well. So
thank you so much. And I've always wanted a twin brother
who gets shot brutally.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, spoiler.
We could talk about spoilers on this show, please.
Oh yeah, like if it is not, if it is already aired in theaters and on your TVs, we can talk about it. Poor Pietro. So let's get into our discussion of WandaVision. We're going to do this in 3 parts. Part 1, let's talk about the sitcom nature of it. Which is like the whole initial idea of the show. How did this work for you? Do you like sitcoms? Do you even like comedy? Like what was your feelings when you found out the plot of WandaVision?
I mean, I, for one, being the expert as it may, I really, really loved that the MCU gave us this sitcom-esque storytelling, because it's like nothing we've ever seen before in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, And I thought that was really cool, because it was coming at a time where we did Endgame. We had that big finale moment, and we really needed to try something different and see what we could do and how we could push the medium of film even more.
Evan, how did you feel about the sitcom element to WandaVision?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved that every episode was a new decade. I thought that it was so cool to watch them mimic set design from very specific shows, to do it in front of an actual live audience. I really loved. I mean, I was even telling Isaac this when we were watching it live. The fact that every theme song was different, I was like, I want that job. To be able to have a production crew where every episode you got to change everything about it and just keep the same characters, I really loved. Because the first one is Dick Van Dyke. The second one was Bewitched. The third one was
Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch-esque, but growing pains. And then
it was the 70s.
Yeah,
the third episode.
I think growing pains was more of the next one when they were in the 80s.
Right. But what's funny is that when it was in the 80s, I felt like I was watching the Goldbergs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh look, this is clearly ABC styling. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting off topic, but I did really enjoy the sitcom land that they threw us in. It was so bizarre, and I loved it. I could have watched more episodes of them in this sitcom world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And it was, to my
please.
To my knowledge, I'd never seen anything really that self-aware about sitcoms prior to this, as far as my knowledge goes. So I thought that was really cool too, because we hadn't really had anything that kind of let you in on the joke of sitcoms that was super meta like that, and then throw in superheroes and you're in for a good time. I mean,
such a good time. And I really loved, they did this really cool thing where every era you were in, the special effects reflected that. Episode 1, it's the Dick Van Dyke Show, and it's the 50s, and it's a lot of wire gags when Wanda is floating things around. And then in the third episode, when she's having her babies in a day, there's a part where the painting on the wall is spinning, and it's clearly a practical effect that I know they could have accomplished in the 1970s as well. So that was just really cool to they didn't resort to CGI every single time they wanted to show something. So enjoyed that. What was your favorite? What's your favorite era? I think we're already starting to get there.
Oh, I mean, those 2 first episodes are just so cool, because I mean, I love the black and white. I love the saturation, the color, the film. Like, I thought it was so great. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, I really like reminiscing about the past and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it in that sense. And I thought that technically those were the most interesting because we went back to the basis of filmmaking, like some of the basics anyway. And that was just really cool to see in Marvel.
Yeah, I think my favorite was the pilot, was the first episode. Mm-hmm. I think the 50s was a cool thing to see, where I also feel like this generation doesn't really watch stuff like that anymore. So to show the Marvel Cinematic Universe, be like, look, this is what a sitcom looked like in the 50s. I think might have intrigued a lot of people to be like, oh, cool. Like, look at this. I remember my grandparents talking about things like I Love Lucy and Dick Van Dyke, but no one ever watched it. Mm-hmm. But then I think watching the show, it was the Malcolm in the Middle era that like hit the hardest for me, because I watched every episode of Malcolm in the Middle. That was when we were teenagers. And so to watch that emulate again on TV was like, oh, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And especially because it swapped POVs for that episode, because Malcolm in the Middle was about Malcolm. So it gave us the kids' POV in that episode.
Yeah, the kids were really heavily featured in that episode, which was really cool. Which, as a Marvel fan, I'm so freaking happy that they gave us Billy and Tommy.
Gay icon Billy, aka Wiccan. Yes,
I'm pretty sure both of them actually too, because in like the later Young Avengers series, I'm pretty sure Tommy has like a cute little bisexual moment with the character of Prodigy. So that's very, very fun.
We love. Yeah, honestly, great for Tommy. I would say if I was to give myself, well, I asked the question, I'll answer as well. My favorite era, oh gosh, I did enjoy the Modern Family Office-y era, just because I liked that they were finally like found a way to do like a little bit of commentary on mockumentary style. Even though that was like, my logical brain was very confused. I was like, how are they doing talking heads when they're still prisoners in this sitcom world?
Yeah.
Like they're doing both. Wild. So I enjoyed that. Let's take a step back outside of the Hex. Let's just cover all those folks that are kind of like running around the fringes. I'm talking, your Jimmy Woos, your Kat Dennings, Monica Rambeau, that man who had a white vision. He had a white version of Vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was like the third bad guy or something in this.
Yeah.
He was the agent of Sword.
Yes. Isaac, how did you feel about Sword finally getting some screen time?
I mean, it's awesome there's so many like leadership sort of government agencies in the Marvel universe, like for the comics. So like seeing any of them be referenced or seeing them like full blown, like Sword was in this show, was super cool. And like the whole Sword and Shield thing is very interesting. And like, I know that there's some other ones too. Like we got to see Hydra in the Marvel universe, which is really cool. And there's still like so many more to introduce too, especially when the X-Men come in. I did really like the formation of Sword. And I also really appreciated Marvel for bringing back these characters who were just, kind of throwaway characters in the previous movies. Like Jimmy Woo coming in was just like such a great thing. And then seeing Darcy and like all these characters coming back was just another great connective tissue for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And Jimmy coming back out from my favorite Marvel film of all time, Ant-Man and Ant-Man versus the Wasp. I'm telling you. And that's not a bit. That is not a bit.
I'm not particularly proud that this is his most favorite film, but I'm happy for him.
Evan Mills, first of all, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. They don't fight each other. They're partners.
What did I say? Versus?
You said versus.
This isn't Batman versus Superman.
Here's the thing. I was just saying,
please.
Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man, loved. Ant-Man and the Wasp, I love. I love it.
He literally sometimes, because we always fall asleep with the TV on. We know that's bad. We really shouldn't do it. But like, I will sometimes, like, once I'm like, 45 minutes into like trying to sleep, I will wake up and see that he is actually watching Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, he voluntarily watches it at night to go to sleep.
Evan, what does it for you about Ant-Man and the Wasp? I know it's not what we're here to talk about. This is breaking news to me.
I'll tell you, it's the shrinking. It's incredible. I think that a suit that allows you to get small, and then you can drive underneath another car and then expand, and that car has no idea you're underneath them, and then that you can get really big, and it's just fascinating to me.
Okay, Vernon Mills' size does matter. I made the joke.
It's Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thor. Those are the three that you put on any of those, and I will watch.
Man, I mean, I like all of them. You're saying first Thor?
First Thor and third Thor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy.
Not second Thor.
No one should ever watch the second Thor.
Which is unfortunate because that's Natalie Portman's like big one, and we're all like, no.
She'll get her moment.
Yeah,
she's coming back.
Anyways, I'm sorry I've like derailed this conversation.
No, you just said something really fascinating, and we had to talk about it, so it's all good. But Evan, while I have you, could you please tell us since you love Thor movies, how did you feel about seeing Kat Dennings back again?
Well,
this is so funny.
Kat Dennings, not my fave.
What?
Not my favorite. I feel like there's always a character in a Marvel film that is every line they say is just for comedic purposes, and I felt like that was Kat Dennings for most of Thor.
Yeah.
Where it was, oh look, here's a serious moment, and then Kat Dennings goes, yeah, but then here's my joke, and then we all go, okay, haha, why are you here? So when she came into WandaVision, I was like, oh good, oh great, here she is. But I don't know, I didn't mind her.
Yeah, because she's a physicist now. She's like got some degree. She's no longer Natalie Portman's intern.
True.
That's so funny. I do feel. Let me phrase it as a question. Do you feel that she was brought in along with? Oh man, I feel so bad that I didn't learn this woman's name. The mom from that '70s show. You know what I mean?
Deborah Jo Rupp.
So you got her and Kat Dennings and maybe a little bit Randall Park. Well, yeah, Randall Park because he was in Fresh Off the Boat. And Catherine Hahn. Do you feel like they were purposefully putting in like these comedic, if not sitcom actors in this show where sitcom is like kind of... I
think so. I think it's so smart to put in Deborah Jo Rupp, who not only is infamous for that 70s show, but also, I still count her as a very detailed part of Friends as well. And she has always been a good sitcom actress. Kat Dennings was perfect for a show that was two broke girls. Catherine Hahn is just like... perfect. Randall Park is so good in Fresh Off the Boat. It's like they were smart about being like, hey, we kind of already quote unquote own these actors for the shows that they've already been in. Let's bring them into a show about sitcoms and throw them into this world. And I think Deborah Jo Rupp is so good in it, especially in that pilot where she's like sitting at the dinner table and then he's choking and she's like, stop it. And she's like crying. And I'm like, this is good acting.
Yeah. And also just to bring it into that first episode, that was like the moment where when you were watching the show, you were like, oh, something's really messed up here in, is it Westview? Westview. It's Westview. Oh my God, your t-shirt.
Dear listener, I'm wearing a Westview t-shirt in honor of today. Something else. Okay. So yeah, I think that was a really cool thing about WandaVision as a whole. It really, they really teased it out. I don't know. Were you guys one of the lucky few who watched it week to week? That was truly painful waiting for the next episode. Cause I always want to start in episode 4 because the first 3 episodes I'm like, nothing's happening. And I'm so frustrated. Because episode 4 is when we finally go outside of the Hex and we meet Monica Rambeau. And that's where it really picks up for me. But like those first 3 weeks, there was like so much speculation. I mean, what was the, Isaac, you might know this. Everyone thought someone was behind it. Mephisto?
Oh, yes, Mephisto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this show had hype like something I haven't seen before in a really long time. And I don't know if that is contributing to the fact that like we were still like very much in the beginning of pandemic times when this show came out.
Yeah.
Not to say that we aren't in pandemic times now, we're still there, but like
there were no vaccines. We were like unsure of like masking.
We were still exactly. We were still like really early on in COVID. And so it felt like it was a cultural phenomenon almost when it was coming out each week, because this was the first time that we had like a weekly show that we were super excited to see. And it was the return of Marvel. Mm-hmm. But the speculation behind this show was super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun.
I wonder, and this might be a question for you, Isaac, do you feel like the speculation made it almost unenjoyable for people when the things they speculated didn't happen? Because I felt some of that after the finale aired.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was pissed blown when we didn't figure out who the astrophysicist was, or it wasn't, Reed Richards or something like that coming in. Like, I remember sitting there, they were like, there's an astrophysicist that is like her friend. And it was such a strange plot point, because in Marvel, if you were mentioning a character like 2 episodes before, it's like, oh, well, it's going to be some big reveal. And yeah, it was a little bit disappointing when that astrophysicist was nothing.
Yeah. Remind me, who was the astrophysicist? Who was it in the end? Was it?
I don't even think we actually met the character. I think it was just like I'm going to send this information to my friend. And then I think that it all happened off screen, and we just never. I mean, I'm not 100% positive. It's been a while since I've seen
and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, let's hop onto a topic we could all talk about. And dear listener, we're going to talk about Wanda. Don't you worry. But just want to I'm trying to get through everything so we can dedicate the rest of our time to Wanda. And I feel like the last person to talk about is Miss Monica Rambeau. I want to go to Evan, resident newbie, Evan Mills. How did you receive Monica Rambeau? Was this a good introduction to this character? Do you want to see more?
100%. I think that when she was introduced in the second episode, right? She was not in the first episode. She comes in in the second episode, and you're like, okay, she's clearly important.
Yeah. Oh, she was.
We need to figure out why. Yeah, and then, of course, being so new to this, I remember Captain Marvel, and I remember that character. And so whenever they were like, this is, and then this was cool, because I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, WandaVision was the second Marvel thing to show the blip or the return of the people, right? Because Spider-Man was the first one.
Yes, Spider-Man.
Yeah. And then this was like, we finally, this series opened an episode with her returning into the hospital. She's like, where's my mom? And we got that whole thing. And so that immediately made me connect with her. And I was like, okay, wow, what a cool way to introduce this character. And then when she got her powers, I was like, okay, now I'll watch a whole series based off you. Like, I thought she was very cool. And then,
it's going to be really exciting to see her journey throughout the rest of them. I know she's returning for Captain Marvel 2, otherwise known as The Marvels.
So excited.
So excited. That's going to be great. But yeah, I think it's really cool that we got Photon, that's just,
and that's
an Avenger that
Photon.
I'm pretty sure it's Photon. Yeah.
But they don't say it in this.
No, they don't say Photon in the show, but they'll say it eventually.
Show us her eyes, and then they go, see, she's a superhero.
I mean, even her costume that she was wearing, though, was very reminiscent of what she wears in the comic books when she's a superhero. So it was cool. The black, white, and gray is like very nice, aesthetically pleasing.
I got to look up a more modern picture of Photon, because the only one I can see are the 70s, and she looks very disco, funky, like black and white color blocking and a big fro. And I'm like, I mean, it's a look, but I don't know if it matches where they're at currently in the MCU. I love Monica Rambeau. I love Teyana Paris, who played Monica Rambeau. I think she's a fantastic actress who she should be just beneath Will Smith status, I feel.
What did she just recently do? She like
Candyman.
Candyman, that's right. And we saw that in theaters. And yeah, because I was like, oh, who is this? And yeah.
God, oh my gosh, so good. She was in the original Dear White People movie. That's where I first saw her. She was recasted. She didn't do the TV show, which I always say is smart. Don't do the TV show.
I think the movie is superior than the TV show.
I would love to have this conversation. I do.
Yeah, just not on the Marvel,
right.
On the Marvel podcast.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that wasn't a warning. That was just like, I really do have thoughts, but I don't want to spill that.
Same. I watched the first 2 seasons and then I was like, I don't know. I like the movie better. Anyways.
We're going to talk. All right, y'all. How about this? How about we take a quick break? We deny the fans even more of this conversation about Wanda. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back. We're going to talk about all things Wanda, and you're going to love it. We'll see you after the break.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us, and then listen in.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that break. God, we all had to pee. So I want to throw it to you boys. Wanda Maximoff, why do you love her? And why? And is she or is she not a queer icon? And tell me why.
You start.
Well, okay, I'll start. I will say I love Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch. I remember the very first X-Men comic book that my dad introduced me to was the original Stan Lee Jack Kirby run. And I think it was like issue 4 or 5. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants gets introduced. And it is it's Magneto, Toad, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and there's another guy in there, but I can't remember what his name is.
Blob?
No, it wasn't Blob. He's like this character that wears like a brown trench coat, and I can't remember what his character name is.
Dick Tracy.
Yeah, there we go.
Tracy.
But I remember seeing that, and I remember seeing Scarlet Witch on that cover, and thinking, as a little young closeted gay boy, who is this goddess? Who is this queen? Who is she? And it grew over time because I started to then like look into the Avengers comics, and there was a fun little section where she was a part of a team that consisted of Captain America, Hawkeye, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. And that was like the next group of Avengers after the original 5. And I think that there's a term for it called Captain's Kooky Quartet is like the name of that Avengers team.
They need the word kooky.
Kooky. Or something like that. And maybe it's not kooky, but it was definitely Captain's Quartet. And it was those 4 members. And I remember Scarlet Witch being there and just thinking like, again, like, wow, she's super cool. So will I say she's a queer icon? Absolutely. She's a queer icon to me, who was the young queer boy who saw a lady in a nice pointy headband-esque hat and said, diva.
Diva, if you please.
Diva.
Evan, same question.
Yeah, for me, as the resident newbie, the first Marvel film I ever saw in theaters, awful, Age of Ultron. Right, that was the first. I didn't even see the Avengers, the first one, in theaters. I went and saw Age of Ultron, and I remember seeing it and being like, one, the boy who played Kick-Ass, who I had a huge crush on because I loved Kick-Ass. I was like, okay, cool, he's in this world. Mm-hmm. Two, it's an Olsen. And I said, wow, look at these two new characters. One is related to Mary-Kate and Ashley, and one is Kick-Ass. So I'm sold. I had no idea who either of them were prior to this movie. Mm-hmm. And then he died, and I said, wow, what a actual bummer. He's not going to be in this franchise anymore. But no, I loved Wanda. And what I thought was so funny is that her accent just slowly started to go away every movie. And then it would come back very strong at the beginning of some movies. And then I would go, this is the most confusing thing I've ever seen. Yeah. Then I watched the show and I said, okay, we stan. I love her. She's great. Well, I did love her in Infinity War. I thought she was a really wonderful part of that movie.
Holy cow, yeah.
But yeah, I think queer icon for sure. I think that like we saw the most Wanda and Agatha costumes in the queer world this year than ever before. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Wanda I guess she wasn't the Scarlet Witch until this show, right? Yeah. So like no one was going to be dressing up as Wanda, but yeah, I don't know. That was a long, drawn out way for me to say that I loved the Maximoff.
You stand her.
You stand her. And you got a little reference to Halloween, which, as we all know, the gayest holiday.
Exactly. There's a whole episode about Halloween.
Really?
That it was like, as soon as she came out in that outfit, I said, well, the gays are going to go nuts.
And the nerds, because that was such a great reference to their original costumes in the comics. Like, that was very fun.
Yeah. Yeah. To see Wanda and Vision, those original outfits, was so glorious and goofy all at the same time. And I think it's so they've done such a great job because before I moved to Los Angeles, I live in Los Angeles, California, listeners. Before I moved here, I did a Infinity War Endgame rewatch, and it was so crazy to me to see like Wanda and Vision, their scenes after seeing the WandaVision show. Because when you first saw that movie, it's kind of like, who are these two? Why is she touching his forehead? What's going on? They've done nothing with these two. And then you watch WandaVision. So when you go back, those scenes are like, oh my God, this is their last time together. Yeah. Like the scenes are just so much more powerful. And I bet the same for Age of Ultron. If we were brave enough to watch it again, I think we would like it a lot more now that we know Wanda and Vision, at least how they exist in the MCU better. So we love that. And you know what? I too think that Wanda is a gay icon. And my reasoning is that she's very powerful, but she fucks up so much. And I think that is something a lot of queer people can relate to. Or maybe it's just
totally.
I think that this is really interesting that you say that she like fucks up so much, because I think there is like an argument, especially with Wanda as a character now, which I think we're going to explore a lot more in the new Doctor Strange movie. I mean, we've already seen it from the trailers where, you know, Doctor Strange is basically the one that fucking open up the multiverse, and she's like, why is it when you do it you're a hero, but when I do it I'm the villain? And like that is such a good Wanda Maximoff question, and I'm so fucking excited for this movie.
It's gonna be huge. Also, man, y'all, you can't pay for transitions like this. Thank you, Isaac. Yeah, let's talk about Wanda coming up in the multiverse of madness. I don't know. Is she gonna be the bad guy? Is she what do you foresee? What do you foresee is gonna happen either in this movie or in the future? Like, is she rejoining the Avengers? Where does Wanda go after traumatizing the town of Westview?
Well, you know what they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And she is upset about her kids. And she's going to do whatever it takes to get those boys back.
How does that work? How are they real? She's in the sitcom bubble and she's like, oh, I want to have kids. Poof. She's pregnant with twins. And then she delivers them in like a day. Are they real? Are they tangible? Like, what did she create? I mean, did she literally create life on her own?
Well, in the comics, something similar to this happened where she created these two twins out of her imagination. You as the reader find out that the twins never existed. However, their energy or their souls were transferred to two children that were born post House of M, I want to say. Mm-hmm. No, definitely not House of M. It was definitely earlier than that in the Marvel chronologically. You're gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. But yeah, I think I do think that they're out there somewhere, and I think that the multiverse is going to play into it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
How I have no idea, but I think we're going to see two little, Wanda kids running around.
But isn't it also like how she created Vision? She created Vision out of scorn and like with making this town, she also made a vision. So she could make her children. She can, and we saw it. The kids couldn't go out of the thing because they disintegrated. Like
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But didn't Vision he was able to get out enough that he lived, or did he die when he left Westview? And then when Wanda was like, oh, Vision's out, and she expanded the bubble, that's what kept him alive.
Yeah. Like he got out of the bubble, but he was like, it was painful. Like he was like,
yeah, remember?
Right. Yeah.
And so that Vision that she created, she ended up destroying at the end. But then there's this white Vision who kind of just learned to feel and then flew away.
And then disappeared.
Yeah, he had that whole dilemma of whether or not he existed or what was his choice for existence or something.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting. And I feel like we will see him come back in some capacity.
Now Wanda has that book. So I bet in the book there's probably some spell where she can be like, here's how you bring those children back to life.
The Darkhold, yeah.
Or something. Which, okay, sorry, y'all. This is where I jump in and be a big nerd and shout out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know that you already mentioned the Darkhold in the fourth season. Not my favorite episodes you did, but you did reference it. And I do think it's unfortunate that the movies like to pretend that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never happened. But it did.
I mean, rightfully so, though.
I am going to have to agree with Evan on this one. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a big old miss for me.
You watched the last 3 seasons of that show, and I know this is insane to say, but the last 3 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were the best comic book TV show things I have ever seen. The best. And I've seen all of Arrow.
Oh my God, you do like the CW shows, don't you?
You know what? I'm not on trial, so I don't know why you're doing this to me. But yes, I've since petered out, but I watched all 8 seasons of Arrow because Stephen Amell is my husband, whether he knows it or not.
I love that though. I really do love that. That's exciting.
Was Clark Gregg in every season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes, he was but was Phil Coulson? No.
Really? Whoa, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. I genuinely thought that Phil Coulson was just like the main character of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, Isaac, if I said the letters LMD, would that mean anything to you?
Life model decoy?
Yes.
I almost said Lieutenant Martin Donahue.
You got there eventually.
That's an LMD. Lieutenant Martin Donahue.
I love him. Was Colby Smulders in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
She had a few episodes. Guys, this is not, we're going to do the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast soon. And it's also...
Okay, don't ask me to be there.
Yeah, I can't sit through all the episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm so sorry.
I will wait. Okay, yes. Is it 3 seasons of NCIS superheroes? Yes. And then a half season of bad, and then 3.5 seasons of stellar stuff?
They made 7 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You betcha.
That's more than Lost. That's impressive.
That's one more season more than Lost. But we're not here to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're here to talk about WandaVision. And I think we've even, is it time now? Can we talk about her? Can we bring her out? The one who's been behind it all along? Is this the space for it?
Yeah,
I think so.
I agree.
Talk to me about Agnes, Agatha, Catherine Hahn. I want to hear about it all. How did she work for you? Well, I know she worked for you. How well did she work for you?
I think she stole the fucking show. I think she genuinely, we all knew it was coming. And when it came and they gave us her own theme song, I think the world imploded. I think we said, okay, she's the bad guy, but I still fully support her. I felt on her side the whole time.
Absolutely.
But it was never that I was against Wanda. We were introduced to such a good villain that I was like, oh my gosh, she could kill my dog.
Oh my God, I can't believe you brought it. Sparky, you're so mean.
It was like, man, the only thing I do wish she was a little bit more connected, because I think WandaVision's a lot, y'all. So it's like, you mean to tell me Wanda just did this? She turned this New Jersey town of Westview into a sitcom, and there's the military sword trying to get in there because they're building their own vision. And there's a witch named Agatha Harkness who kind of like just infiltrated the whole thing. It's like so much happening, but Agatha was also my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah,
I will say that. Yes,
she was brilliant, and she is like a deep dive Marvel character to introduce, but she is essential to the story of Wanda Maximoff. So it was really cool to have her come into the Marvel Cinematic Universe fully fleshed out as Catherine Hahn, which was not expecting. I mean, if you look at Agatha Harkness in the comic books, it's like an Aunt May-esque character, old white lady. Like,
she looks like Rosemary Harris in the first Spider-Man movie. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. So wonderful. I think my favorite episode in whole of this thing was the episode that I think it's called Previously On, where you learn Agatha's backstory, and then Agatha takes Wanda on that like journey, and we like I think I like that episode because it just finally made Agatha made it all make sense. Like we saw like, Wanda's family watch sitcoms together, and her dad sold those DVDs, and then the Stark missile blew them up or tried to blow them up. And then we returned to Hydra to kind of iron out that Mind Stone business of like, oh no, she's always had these powers, but the Mind Stone just kind of enhanced it. And also Agatha was just so fun. I love a character, and I feel like this MCU does this really well, and they did it well in Buffy as well. Like the villain who's just like, yeah, I don't care about your trauma. I want to do my own thing. It was just always so fun.
Yeah. And I mean, she was such a cultural moment that she ended up getting her own Disney Plus show, House of Harkness.
House of Harkness.
And it's about a sorority. And it's all these witches that are like, oh, I want to be like you.
You heard it here.
House of Harkness. Can you imagine? They'd be like, who's that messing up everything? They all have candles. One girl's walking down a set of stairs. She's getting initiated.
Wow.
And that's that's the school song.
That's what I would write. Yeah. That's what I would write it.
It's MCU's very own American Horror Story Coven.
Yeah.
Oh God.
When you said Stark also, which reminded me about the fact that this whole series had commercials, which I think was so cool.
So good.
Because you were like, oh, look, these must be clues. These must be. Like, why would they incorporate this in the show?
Have you heard the theory? The theory that, because the commercials also weren't that explained once the hex was lifted.
No.
Also, I think, Evan, you might know him. I knew one of the actors who was in the commercials. He was a Second City person. I don't want to butcher his name, but I'll just say I knew him. But I heard a theory that Doctor Strange was trying to get into the hex, and that's why the commercials were there, because that was him trying to break in or something like that.
Oh,
I that's a theory that I've heard. It could be wrong, and I could be making a fool of myself.
No, it's super valid. Yeah, that's super valid. I definitely thought something like that was going to happen. But also, this was our first Disney Plus show. We didn't really know Disney Plus Marvel show. We didn't really know what the lengths to which they were willing to go in terms of like guest stars, or like how much they were going to actually connect to like the broader story of the MCU.
Yeah. So still undecided on these commercials. Let's see. I had one final question about the show before we get into our Fuck, Marry, Kill. Should the people of Westview forgive Wanda? Because they seem pretty pissed at the end.
here's my take on this.
Isaac is slowly shaking.
As a newbie, if I lived in Westview and this happened to me, I'd be like, thank you for the memories. I'd say, wow, I can tell my children that I was being controlled by the Scarlet Witch at one point in my life. And I say, throw me in, put me in, coach, put me into each of these decades and let me have a week of my life controlled by a witch. And then if she's like, okay, I'll let you go, I'll be like, great, thanks. Come back anytime. Just don't control me anymore.
Well, it wasn't like they ordered this. Like, it just kind of happened randomly.
Right. But look, most of the people seem like they had boring lives anyways. So I feel like she made them a little more interesting.
I think you were giving her the benefit of the doubt. If I were a Westview resident, I'm sorry, I'd be pissed. Yeah. I'd be like, why did you do that to me in my normal little New Jersey life? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But also, I think that like Wanda is kind of getting a little bit of a track record in terms of the overall story for Marvel right now. Like she blew up that building in
Lagos.
Yeah, in Lagos. She worked with Ultron. She was on the opposing side of the Sokovia Accords. The Sokovia Accords were basically put into place because of Wanda.
Yeah.
And now we have this incident with Westview. So, there's a lot there. She's kind of checking off the marks.
You're saying she's a true American.
And that's how we get that commentary in there, baby. Yeah, damn, man. Is Wanda bad?
I don't necessarily think Wanda's good.
I think Wanda is as bad as Iron Man is as bad. I think
that's fair. I mean, Iron Man's a warlord. Like that's who he is. Like,
yeah.
I think everyone is bad in their own sense, but mean good in the sense of like, I don't know. I've told this to Isaac. I'll tell this to the whole world. Iron Man was never my favorite. And I think that Iron Man caused so much damage while he was trying to do good. And it's just like, no, that doesn't defeat the fact that you destroyed half the city every time you tried to help.
I mean, that's why I think that Captain America Civil War is like one of the quintessential Marvel movies, because it genuinely flips the script and asks us about the moral compass of superheroes.
And it gives us Bucky.
Which
we already had Bucky.
Oh my God. He's obsessed. He loves Sebastian Stan. I swear to God. He wants to watch Pam and Tommy literally just because Sebastian Stan.
Evan, just call.
Notice how I didn't say anything because it's not wrong.
Evan, just call me after this podcast. I've got a thing about Sebastian Stan, but we'll talk. But since we're all getting hot and bothered thinking of the hot people in the MCU, I think now is as good a time as any to do the segment that concludes every conversation here at Podcast 616, a good old fashioned Fuck, Marry, Kill. I provide 3 names, and then my guest and myself will decide whether we would fuck this person, marry this person, or kill this person for no particular reason other than how we feel. And for this one, our candidates up for discussion are WandaVision and, of course, Agatha all along. Do you guys have something? Or I can go first if you guys want time.
Yeah, let's you.
Yeah, why don't you go first?
You go first.
Because this was something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I'm really torn.
I know. Okay. Shoot. All right. I can do this. I'm brave. I think I like to start with my kill, the person I just want to get rid of right away. And sadly, it's going to have to be Vision. I'm so sorry. You know, you were barely talked about in this podcast. And I think that's just how I feel about you. I'm just not clear on where his sentientness begins and ends. Also, this version of Vision in the movies, Creation of Ultron, you're an instrument of evil. And I if he was Paul Bettany, oh my God, I'd marry Paul Bettany, but Vision, I'm going to have to send him to the scrap heap. My fuck would be, oh gosh, maybe I would say, I'll say Agatha. You know, she seems like she'd be fun. She'd laugh the whole time. I don't think I would provide her with a good experience, but that's all good because I'm saving my ring finger for Wanda. I'll marry Wanda. I just want to, you know, either help her or just see what crazy shit she's going to do next. And those are my picks.
Wow. I would say mine is not far off, if not the exact same, where I would 100% marry Wanda because, wow, what a fun time that would be. Every morning I'd wake up in a new decade. And then after that, I could go to a cabin with her and avoid the whole world while she astro projects, and I get to probably make eggs for us. And I'd be like so content. I'd be so content with living with Wanda. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, you probably would fuck Agatha because who knows what would happen during that.
Who she might turn into.
You could absorb some of her powers. She could possess you. Either way, you're going to have an experience you'll never forget. And Vision is just kind of boring to me. Vision was always just kind of there. And you're like, agreed. If it was Paul Bettany, A Knight's Tale, you marry and you fuck. But because it's Vision, I say the women overpower the men in this reality.
Sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to come in here and just completely disrupt both of you. I am completely confused as to why no one said they want to fuck the Vision. Like, this is a man who can literally change himself into anything that you want. He's a robot, but like,
I mean, I'm
sorry. Like, that's exciting to me. To be like, make it bigger.
Well, I have yet to see his prowess in the crotchular region, so I don't know. In my mind, he's a Ken doll down there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he has a little Vision peen.
I'm so sorry. These are your answers. I shouldn't influence you. Please continue, Isaac. Please.
I don't know. I just think that he would be the most exciting out of everyone. And it's not because I'm gay. It is not because I'm gay. But I think that Vision would be the most exciting in terms of fucking. Marrying, I would have to say, I think I would marry Agatha.
You're about to be up in here and kill Wanda.
Can I finish? So I would marry Agatha because I think that Agatha is, you know, she knows everything that there is to know. She's like a 1,000-year-old witch. I feel like she would protect me, and I am small and I need protection. And then, yeah, unfortunately, I would kill Wanda. And that is not because I don't think she's a redeemable character. I just think Wanda has done it.
I'm throwing my Scarlet Witch X's at you. How dare you?
No, stop it. I'm throwing them back at you. I genuinely think that Wanda is really dangerous, and I think she's about to mess some shit up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Because Doctor Strange hasn't already?
Okay, well, he wasn't on the list, was he?
Dear listener, if you want to hear our views on Doctor Strange, or at least my views on Doctor Strange, those episodes are coming. Thank you all so much. As always, Fuck, Marry, Kill is a very heated discussion. That's WandaVision. It's on Disney Plus. I don't know why in the world you haven't watched it at this point and listened to this podcast, but go check it out. Evan and Isaac, thank you so much for being here. Let's go. Isaac, if people were like, hey, I want to follow Isaac on social media and see what they're up to, where would people go?
So So you can do that at on Instagram. I am Ike D Snyder, and then on Twitter I am Isaac D Snyder. Definitely go for the Twitter first because I don't need more Instagram followers. There's I don't post, but Twitter if you want the real thoughts that go on in my brain.
I thought that was like
follow that.
I thought you were like, I have too many Instagram followers. I don't need any more.
Oh no, nothing like that. I have a very modest amount of Instagram followers, but no, Twitter definitely if you want the real Isaac Snyder.
And we love the real. Thank you, Isaac. Evan, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on all platforms under the same name to make it easy. It's Awk Mills, AWK Van Mills. Really easy. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We're out here because that's what we have to do now, and it's sad.
It is.
It may be sad, but you're very good at it. So
thank you so much.
Go follow these wonderful human beings. I'm Damon Royster. You can find me on Instagram at Damon Royster, DaymanRoyster. It's the same name on Twitter, but it's Damon Royster 88. So same spelling, but the number 88 at the end. This is Podcast 616, part of Press Play Productions. Thank you to my producer, Jordan, for helping us out. Jordan, what grade would you give this episode?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with A-. A-.
Yes.
Mostly
Hell
because
yeah.
I've never, I didn't know WandaVision was even two different people. And so I at least know that now. So I know nothing about any of this. So you mentioned earlier, I don't know why anyone hasn't seen this. So I'm like the one person who hasn't. So
oh, sorry, Jordan.
Thanks for calling me out.
That did feel pointed. I'm so sorry.
That's a valid thing to say. When you hear WandaVision, I think WandaVision, as in Wanda's vision for television. It makes so much sense. So then when it is two people, you go, why isn't it called Wanda and Vision?
Right. We don't know who Telly is.
What? Okay, I'm good.
That was a stupid joke.
Y'all are going to have to Google that one on your own. Thank you all so much for being here. WandaVision is delightful, as is everyone here. I'm your host, Damon Royster. This has been Podcast 616. Have a good day. And remember that with great power comes great responsibility.